So this is my first video and it is dedicated to my kitten Ruby, who passed away a couple of days ago, and I have been devastated and heavy hearted since. I am just absolutely miserable without her. I'm still getting used to it even though I knew her for just a few weeks. It's been This is the first time that I've had a pet who has passed away and passed away in front of me, and just seeing the little life essence go from her has I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. um, it's been devastating and I'm trying to get over it. But anyway, I wanted to talk about carbon and its relation to the material world and how it keeps man bound to the earth in a karmic cycle or repetition. So when you look at the molecular structure of carbon, it has 6 neurons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. That's 666. In the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it mentions that there is the number of a man, which is 666. Now, when I talk about these things, I do not talk about it from a religious perspective or from a worldview perspective. I'm looking at it from a spiritual perspective, from an esoteric perspective, from a positive occult perspective, where nothing is judged based on good and bad or black and white. We are not judging things over here. We are just, because everything is on the spectrum. We don't know when light changes or fuses into the dark, or when the dark fuses into the light. Just something that you need to know is that everything that was ever conceived or perceived in the past, in the present, or will be in the future came from the heart and the mind of God, and nothing and no one, be it even your worst enemy, your best friend, whatever it is, everything is safely within the heart and the mind of God. So I'm just looking at it from a very objective third person, just observing things as they are. Again, there is no negative connotation. Even when I say 666, I'm not going to say, oh my God, the number of the beast and this is satanic. No, I'm talking about it from a frequency perspective. So carbon was created from the death of stars. When stars were dying, they released carbon, and that's how carbon came to be in the universe. Carbon is also, the way I consider it, is like an antithesis to life, because when you're breathing in and you're keeping in the oxygen, but you're exhaling or letting out carbon dioxide. When any living being dies, it releases carbon. In fact, billions of years ago, before the concept of human beings was conceived, billions of years ago, there were organic materials that died, and that turned the carbon that was turned, because it was trapped in the earth, that carbon turned into natural gas, which is what we are burning today in the form of petrol and other materials related to petroleum that is being released into the universe. Now, carbon was just like any other element that is available in the universe, like oxygen, nitrogen. But now, all of a sudden, in the modern world, our dependence on carbon for everyday things, in order to help us function, carbon has become a very intrinsic part of the material world, of the physical world. And that's why I'm looking at carbon as the 666, as keeping man bound in a karmic cycle, because man's dependence on carbon has increased sevenfold, tenfold, hundredfold since the industrial revolution. Since the dawn of mankind, basically, our dependence on carbon has increased so much that now carbon is available in everything, from organic matter that we are using, from the clothes that we are using. Carbon is also in as I said, in the petroleum that we are burning at such a devastating, at an unnatural amount, that we are releasing carbon into the atmosphere. In fact, as compared to the pre-industrial revolution, carbon now has 50% more increased into the atmosphere at the moment. Carbon is, when you hear about carbohydrates in food, that means it is carbon rich food. Everything that we use, in plastics, there is carbon has basically integrated itself into the material world at a very unhealthy level. So that's why I'm relating carbon to the material world, because carbon is very much needed in the material world as compared to in the spiritual world. It's really not needed at all. But carbon has such an intrinsic part into the material world, and because carbon is being overused, over released into the atmosphere, that very same carbon that we are depending on is now causing us is now negatively affecting us because there is 50% more of it in the atmosphere. And if I tell you the health, from a health perspective, what breathing in extra carbon does to the body, basically from a health perspective, it damages your heart, it damages your lungs. But the worst part about overconsumption or breathing in a toxic amount of carbon is that it causes cognitive decline. What does cognitive decline mean? It causes depression, it causes anxiety. All of this is taking you further and further away from the high vibrational thoughts, high vibrational feelings, connecting to the divine. Because the lower and lower you go energetically, the further you are taken away from the heart and mind of God, from the core of God, and the more you become dependent, the more you become attached to the physical realm. So let's just take one main example. The biggest pollutant or the biggest releaser of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, almost 70% of it is caused by petroleum. Now, as I mentioned earlier, petrol or petroleum was created because of the fossilization of ancient creatures, that the carbon wasn't released into the air because these creatures were buried deeply under the ground. So because the carbon dioxide didn't get a chance to escape, it formed natural gas. Now, our dependence on petrol and petroleum, of course, you know today what causes traffic and so much pollution in the air, where you cannot even see 10 feet in front of you, and when you're breathing in, there is so much, like your nose and your throat and your lungs are burning. Again, as I said, it is causing cognitive decline, is that it keeps you earthbound. Now, when it comes to petrol, now let's just say petroleum, the biggest releaser or one of the biggest contributors of pollution and extra carbon being released into the atmosphere. Let's take an example now of petrol. Now, let's say you are a person who uses petrol on a regular basis, who is also contributing to the release of carbon into the atmosphere at such a great and unhealthy and very toxic level. You on a daily basis need money in order to pay for that, right? You need money to pay for the fuel. You are paying real money, you are using real energy and real time of your life. In real time, you are using your life, and whatever you're earning, you're going to work, you're earning in order to put in that petrol. That money that you are using, that you are literally paying to poison your own environment and to poison the environment for the future for your children, that is going to cause them cognitive decline and health issues, that real money is going and being paid to these petroleum companies or these oligopolies. Now, let me ask you, how long has it been? How many years has it been? How much money have you actually spent on petrol and petroleum products in order to poison your own atmosphere? Do you even know to whom that money is going? Do you even know who are the CEOs of these petrol companies? Who is manufacturing? Who is releasing all of this natural gas, digging it up and going? Do you even know these people? No. Yet your time, your energy, your money, all of your focus of your life is going into paying these people. You don't even know who they are. You don't know if they are human beings. You don't know if they are hybrids. You don't know if they are aliens. You don't know if they are demonic. These elite are hidden, and they have their own little secret society known as an oligopoly, where they over manufacture and they are releasing and they are making sure that our daily needs of our human life will need these petroleum or these petroleum products or these carbon rich products, without which we feel like our physical material world is not going to function correctly. And you're paying these people who you don't even know to pollute your own environment and cause you health problems. Now, from the perspective of, if you're thinking about, oh, but I do need petrol, like how am I supposed to function, how am I supposed to do these things, I need food, I need to travel. Yes, that is very important. But where I have a problem with, where I am pointing out that carbon is related to not the highest vibrational needs that you need as a human being in order to stay connected to your divine self, and makes you more bound to the earth, more focused on fulfilling your earthly needs, is based on carbon and carbon processes and carbon rich food and carbon rich materials that you keep using again and again in your lifetime. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that if you want to ascend, if you want to vibrationally be of a good vibration, and you actually want to reach and connect and communicate with God or with the source of life, start depending less and less on carbon or carbon related materials. I mean, if you feel like, oh, I need to travel by car, otherwise how am I going to go to work, how am I going to, if you are traveling maybe 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, why do you have legs? You can use your legs instead of burning so much petrol and causing health problems, including cognitive decline in your body and lowering your vibration. You're going to feel heavier, you're going to feel, just ask yourself where you live in your current city, how you feel on a daily basis. You feel irritable, you feel very heavy headed, health is not at the max, you don't feel energetic, joyful, happy, you're not feeling any of the higher vibrational emotions. If I go out today in the morning, people look so miserable, like nobody's even smiling today, nobody's naturally full of joy, it's all fake happiness and fake joy, but no one is fulfilled with joy because the very air is made up of this low vibrational carbon that is produced because we are overusing materials on the material plane in order to fulfill our material needs that are carbon rich, that is basically blocking our divine connection and our capability and ability to rise higher vibrationally in our thoughts, words, actions, and how we feel. If you are not in optimal health because you have this excessive carbon in your body, and because it's all around in your environment and all around in the materials that you are using, how can you even say that you are close to God? Then half-heartedly, maybe a couple of times a year, once a week or something, you'll just do some basic rituals and say, oh my God, I am so close to God, and but you're really not, because on a daily basis what you are actually dependent on and what is taking up most of your time and your energy are materials that are lowering your vibration. You are also using your real time, your actual energy, your time, your life force to give and to benefit the carbon producing oligopolies or systems that are actually causing you, making them richer, making them more powerful on this material plane, and keeping you as a slave where you keep consuming from the time you're a teenager till the time you die. Then when you have children, they also will be dependent. Why do you think they encourage you to have children? They encourage you to have children not because they care about the social structure, it's because they are ensuring that even in the future they are going to have slaves who are going to keep contributing money and keep the economy floating based on petroleum. Now why did petroleum or why did carbon rich materials become so important all of a sudden? And this you can trace back to the time of Henry Ford, the creator of Ford Motors. Henry Ford was the one who created vehicles and said that vehicles need to use this natural gas or this petroleum in order to function. That is when the roads started being constructed, where natural soil that could absorb carbon, that could re-fertilize the earth and make sure that even good, that oxygen and a balance in the toxicity in the environment was controlled by the soil and natural resources, that even those are being felled and cut out. Now you have trees that are being cut down. Now you have soil rich roads that are being paved over by cement, which again, cement is another man-made material, in order for these cars to function with petrol in it. Henry Ford was also the man who created the work day, where you're working from morning to night, making sure that all of the most productive hours of your time, that majority of your real life and your real energy is being spent into working in order for you to earn money, so that you can then give that money to these oligopolies, who then can continue releasing these carbon rich fumes into the air, that is going to cause you cognitive decline, that is going to cause you to break away from your spiritual connection and be connected to the physical realm. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the way the world system is working, thanks to, and by the way, Henry Ford was dearly beloved by Hitler. In fact, Hitler in his book, which I will not mention the name, actually praises Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a great anti-Semitic, absolute Jew-hating human being, and Henry Ford is the same man that has now caused, because of his industrial ideas, that now we have our dependence so much on carbon rich fuel and natural resources, and why trees are being cut down, and why all of these roads are being built and the natural soil is being covered, and why you even have work days where you make sure that majority of your time and your energy is going into basically refilling the pockets of these very same industries that are going to cause you to be poisoned and cause your future generations to also be poisoned and continue to be slaves working for them and during the work day. And I hope now you're kind of getting it if I explained it clearly. So basically what you need to do is, when you look at prayer, okay, when we say that, again, please don't look at this from a religious perspective, look at this from a spiritual perspective. When you are told that you need to pray and fast, why do you say pray and fast? Because when you're fasting, you are consuming and releasing less carbon into the atmosphere. That makes you at that point in time more likely to be inclined and to connect with the divine. When you are praying, for the time that you are praying, your mind and your energy are not focused on fulfilling earthly world needs and desires, but is focusing on the divine. So praying and fasting is also very important for you to slowly disconnect from the physical world and to not be in this karmic loop where, as a physical being, you are constantly consuming and dependent on carbon and carbon rich and carbon related materials, that is keeping you bound to the earth and disconnecting you from your divine essence. So I hope that I made sense with this video. I've tried to explain it as best as I can. This is actually a very deep topic, and it would take more time to explain, but all I'm saying is, please do what you can to depend less on materials that are actually poisoning you and poisoning future generations, poisoning your health, causing cognitive decline. Depend less and less on carbon. Look at the things that you are consuming, or that you feel that you need, that you cannot exist in the physical realm without consuming so many carbon rich products that you are consuming on a daily basis. Read more about carbon and understand that when you are producing, manufacturing, contributing towards carbon manufacturing or use on the physical plane, that you are actually disconnecting and going further and further away from the spiritual plane. Yeah, thank you.